Welcome, everybody. I'm hoping a few more people are going to trickle in. We did have 14 people registered, so hoping for a few more to join us here today. But thanks for having lunch with HeatSmart. My name's Lisa Marshall. I'm the HeatSmart Program Director, and I'm really excited about our fall webinar series, our Installer Case Study series. So this is the second week. Last week we had one of our newer partners, Zero Draft, who specialize in home performance. That's weatherization, insulation, air sealing, and that sort of thing. And if you want to see that webinar, you can go to our YouTube channel, and eventually it'll be up on our Facebook. And today is our second, and it's a really exciting project that AJ here is going to share with us all. But before we go to him, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and tell a little bit about the HeatSmart program, who we are, what we do, why we do it, and then I'll turn it over to AJ for the case study. And AJ, it looks like Brian tried to join and wasn't connecting, so hopefully he'll call in or try back, but I don't know if you have his cell phone number. You might want to text him. I did let him in, but it just said it was connecting. So I'm going to welcome to Crystal. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I see everyone's muted. Thanks for staying muted during the presentation, and then we can have a conversation at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my slides now. So as I said, I'm the program director of HeatSmart. We are a community nonprofit. We like to let everybody know that we are dedicated to education and outreach and support. We don't make any money off of any sales. We don't sell anything. And we are funded the same way, whether you buy anything or buy nothing. So don't feel any sales pressure from us at all. We're here for education, and we like to emphasize the cost savings, the comfort, the convenience, and the climate solutions that any home or building owner or resident can enjoy by implementing energy efficiency upgrades. And in particular, we like to talk about our friend, the heat pump, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a second. So as I said, we are the HeatSmart program. We are one of NYSERDA's clean heating and cooling communities. NYSERDA is New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. This state agency is funded by all of us. Every month when you pay your utility bill, you pay a fee called the Systems Benefit Charge. And that fee goes into a fund that funds NYSERDA. And what they do with that money is try to implement energy programs that help improve the way we use energy in New York. And in this case, we're really thinking about the energy in our buildings. I love to show this map for two reasons. One is that HeatSmart Tompkins, and we now serve Tompkins and Chemung County. So that's us here in the dark blue. We were the original HeatSmart program. This idea did not come from NYSERDA, it came from us. We started as a grassroots effort with just a few people thinking about how can we promote positive green energy solutions in our own community. And NYSERDA liked our program so much that they decided to fund it and make funding available for similar programs across New York State. And as you can see by this map, most New Yorkers now are served by a clean heating and cooling community program such as ours. And we're really proud to have been the first and the pioneers. So why the heck do we need such a thing as a clean heating and cooling community anyway? Why is that important? And that is because we are in a time in human history that we're experiencing what some call the climate crisis or the climate emergency. And this is caused by the burning of fossil fuels, that we burn more every year than we did the year before. And we've been doing that at a sort of dramatically escalating rate ever since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And we have to now figure out a way to reverse that trend and start burning less fossil fuels every year than we did the year before. So, and here in New York, we have actually a law that compels us to do that. It's the CLCPA, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. And that is actually requiring us to reduce those greenhouse gas emissions. Those are the chemicals that trap the sun's heat in the atmosphere. And a little bit of those is great, makes the planet Earth nice and habitable. But when you increase the amounts of those gases, by large amounts in short period of time, then you run into trouble. So we have to look at where those emissions come from in our state. And as you can see from this graphic, buildings represent about a third of those emissions. So that's on-site combustion in buildings. Those are the fossil fuels we burn in a building to heat the building, to cook our food, and to heat hot water for the most part. So that's what the HeatSmart program is intended to do, is to help us to look at our buildings, make them more efficient, and reduce the amount of emissions that are coming from them. And how can we do that? Well, we have to look and see where are we using energy in our buildings, and it's mostly for heating in New York because we are a cold climate, even though it's getting warmer. And heating our hot water is also a big factor. This little graphic comes from Minnesota. For New York, I've seen 15% for hot water. I've seen 17, and I've seen 20%. So somewhere between 15 and 20% for most households is going to be for your hot water. And more than half is for heating. They're showing here 55% heating and air conditioning, and most of that is heating. Many houses in New York, as you know, don't even have any air conditioning. So how do we reduce the emissions and the energy used for heating and heating hot water? First, we like people to look at the building envelope. That is how well insulated and air sealed your building is. And that's because no matter what method you're using to create warmed or cooled air, you want to keep that air inside with you and not let it go right out the window or out the attic or out the basement. I'm happy to say a contractor just finished doing that work literally today on my daughter's house in Rochester. And I can't wait to go up there and see what they did. So then we turn our attention to space heating and to cooling. And for that, we recommend air source and ground source heat pumps. Heat pumps are the absolute most clean and efficient way to heat a house. They're also quiet. They improve air quality. They're just wonderful devices. And we have found out that people just don't know enough about them. And so a big part of our mission at HeatSmart is to make sure people know about heat pumps, what they can do, and how to get a good installation of a heat pump in your house or building. And then for hot water, there's also a heat pump hot water heater system, which we also recommend for a lot of applications. So here's a picture of some of these wonderful heat pumps. On the left, we have an air source heat pump. This kind is called a ductless mini split. Those are very popular models. They're very adaptable to different buildings and different kinds of situations. Logan's going to tell you more about that later. In the middle, we have the ground source heat pump. That's kind of the gold standard. It's the most efficient, most long lasting. It can heat, it can cool, it can heat your hot water. And there's really nothing to not love about ground source heat pumps, except the price. They are expensive to put in because you have to put that ground loop in the ground, which is very labor intensive. But once that's in there, that's a once in a lifetime expense. That ground loop will keep heating and cooling your house for decades to come. And when the indoor unit needs to be replaced, it's not going to be the same expense as putting in the ground source heat pump system to begin with. Here on the right, we have the heat pump water heater. It's really just an electric resistance water heater, like many of you probably already have, but on top it's got a little heat pump, and that actually preheats the water, and that really increases the efficiency of the heat pump. And they're great little devices. There is a great rebate available for heat pump water heaters, and I think that there's one in the job that that AJ is going to present later, so I won't talk about those more. But if your current heating system and cooling system in your house is everything you need it to be, but you maybe have an older water heater, a heat pump water heater is a great place to start. So insulation and air sealing, this is pretty simplistic, but insulation is like that warm wool sweater. It will keep you nice and warm, but if it's windy, that wind is going to cut right through that sweater and still get you cold. So that's why you want to put on the windbreaker. That's the air sealing to keep that wind from blowing through your warm sweater. So the combination of insulation with air sealing is what is the improvement to those building envelopes. And the most important place to start is your attic, and after that, your basement. Window salesmen will say the most important place to start is your windows, but we find that's really not true. It's the attic is the biggest priority, and then the basement, and then the conditioned space last. So I'm going to introduce you to wSimply installs the company by showing you a little video that we made about them. And then I'm going to turn the presentation over to AJ to go into the case study. Oops, nope, that's not what I meant to do. Go back. So, nope. All right, I thought that was hot linked. I'm going to go to YouTube instead. Hang on. Here we go. Move that, open this, play this, and here
I'm AJ.
I'm Logan.
And we co-founded Simply Installs. We specialize in high-performance heating and cooling systems, and more specifically, air source heat pumps. Started the business in 2015. I've been with it since the start. Logan as well, but he was in the field long before me. What do you have, 14, 15 years?
Yep. We're the heat pump guys.
So we've got 11 employees, I guess including ourselves. We've got 4 installers, 2 of which just graduated high school. We had them on an internship from a BOCES program locally. I do some field work, I'm doing estimates, a lot more administrative. Logan's kind of in the grind every day, typically out in the field doing work.
Installs, estimates, whatever it takes that day.
What we really kind of pushed from the beginning is not a pushy sales experience. A majority, we were doing it well before COVID. We start with an online quote in an ideal world. And what the online quote allows us to do is, right, it's one.
Yeah, what it does is it preps a customer for the one thing they're truly looking for on that is what's the overall price. That's like my number 1 item that I need. I don't need that at number 20th. I need that at number 1, and then I can decide where I can go from there. So we thought that by doing online quoting, just like if you were to order something online in any way, or even go to a grocery store, you don't put something in the cart, go to the register, and then ring it out to find out the price. You see the price first, and then you put it in your cart.
So typically what'll happen is you'll send in a quote form that's online, just some real basic information, allows us to gather some data and some information online about your house. We make some certain assumptions on there about shell work and stuff because we didn't go to do a whole audit, and it gives us a rough idea of what our BTU range is to qualify for a whole home solution to get the New York Clean Heat money. We send that over, and if the customer decides that, yeah, I'd like to move forward, this is good, I like what I'm seeing, at that point we schedule it in person, which is mainly, it's not a sales call, it's mainly just one of us go over, we look at the house, to us what we're looking for is, will the system that was quoted, will that actually perform as we intend it to? And at that point, it's talk over with the customer, answer the questions, discuss the install process, and from there, it's if they are ready to move forward with an installation, we can do that. It's very rare that we leave and we leave and requote the project. It's very rare.
My name is Jessica Cole, and I am the scheduling coordinator here at Simply Installs. Logan is my husband and AJ is my brother-in-law, so I might be a little bit biased, but I would say one of my favorite things about working here, other than being a small family-run business, is that not only are we employing local families just like mine, but we are working in our community for middle class, low to moderate income families, just like households we grew up in, and we're helping them while also helping the planet by being more sustainable. So not only are we making a living, but we're also employing people locally, we are helping the environment, and we are helping our community.
When it comes to the HeatSmart programs, what's great with what HeatSmart brings to the table is that initial customer outreach, which is not something that we, in our conversations with some with you, it's not something that we do currently because manpower, we're spread pretty thin at times. So the fact that HeatSmart does that initial customer outreach, consumer outreach, it's all great stuff that keeps bringing more confidence into the market in the air source heat pumps.
Logan.
And we.
Alrighty. So that's our little video. You do not know what I had to do to get Logan and AJ to agree to be in front of a camera. They're very camera shy. I don't know why. I don't have any, they're the most handsome installers in our whole program, so they should be in front of the camera all the time. Anyway, without any further ado, I will turn it over to you, AJ, to present this great case study. So go ahead and share your screen when you're ready.
In just a second here, play from beginning. Great. All right, so I'm AJ. I'm a co-owner with my brother Logan. He's actually in the field in Trumansburg right now doing a system install. And I was able to kind of break away for the first time in a couple weeks. So we'll get rolling here. I have to reach out to Jessie. She is actually on this call somewhere watching it, and I've got to thank her for she put together this whole PowerPoint here. Fantastic. You'll notice Jack the cat there on the right hand side. That is Logan and Jesse's cat. He's a big help. It's you can see in the picture there. Logan and I started the business in 2015. Kind of started as a side job, if you will, and it's kind of morphed into a full-time regular animal of its own. Logan and I both own it. Don't have any like investor groups, nothing like that. It's nothing that we ever intended to grow into being huge. It's just, what we can support and, keep mainly the big goal is to, keep pricing very competitive and really kind of put some nice systems out there. The job that we have got, I see Brian's on the call here. What's up, man? The job we've got here for Brian's actually a fantastic job. It's what we did the case study on. I will say it is not in the HeatSmart Tompkins area. We were not in the program when when we did this job, but I really liked it for what the air source system removed an oil boiler out of Brian's house and, was able to really kind of step up, his whole house, the home comfort just to another level there and save him some money. So let's get rolling right into this here. Just a little, there we go. Oh, come on. There it is. Just a little background on Logan and I. We grew up on a farm in Savannah, New York, and that is us out by Route 31 selling produce. And I have been told by my mother that I was only out there for the photo, and then I kind of disappeared. Logan manned the tent. The other picture there is as a calf that we raised, Ginger, that we had dairy replacement cattle. So every now and then, we get a calf, and my grandfather would always kind of give them to us, and you can raise them. And once we raise it up into kind of a small cow, he would take it back and out in the pasture it went. So those were normally, that was my industry right there with the cows. On to the next one. This is our my shop dog, Julius. He's an 11-year-old boxer. He's retired. He likes to get a little time away from our boxer puppy. So he comes to the shop, hangs out. Lisa has gotten to meet Julius. You might hear him carry on from time to time. He means well. He's just could be a grumpy old man. The other picture there is just our shop here in Shortsville. The case study is for Brian B there. He's got a real nice house in Marcellus. It's an 1850s built colonial. It is a really cool old house. Like some of the houses like that we're going to be showing here are some of Logan and I's very favorite to work on. Always challenging, but the end product is always, comes out really nice when you have a nice blank canvas. There's a quick picture of Brian's house. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but you get the general drift. Just over 2,700 square feet, 5-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's Brian, his wife, their 2 kids in Marcellus. Again, it's a really cool old house, great property. It's Marcellus is another place that we really like. Trumansburg, we like working out there. And again, Jack, very hard at work, guard the keyboard. Next guy here, give you a little picture. Oh, come on. There it goes. It's a little picture of the air handler that's in the basement. So what we kind of did here is Brian approached us and was mainly it kind of started with, hey, I really like air conditioning. I've got a boiler and I don't like my window units. It's terrible. And I'd really like air conditioning. We started going down the rabbit hole, as it so commonly happens. And in the end, Brian was able to get some financing, low interest rates through NYSERDA and EFS. And that was he was able to use that, the proceeds for that, to really take his entire house off of fuel oil and put it on air source heat pumps. Way we really looked at doing this was we ducted the first floor out, and it's on this air handler that's shown there. Ducted the whole first floor out, so that's its own zone. The system that you see at 5 degrees puts out roughly 48,000 BTUs. Anything extra than that, there is backup resistance heat that can be added to these systems. So if it is a worry, like, oh, I don't know if the heat pump's going to work for my, replace my forced air furnace, there's definitely additions that can be added onto it. We have it as a backup for Brian, but as far as I know, it was not needed last year at all. You can see the note there, rough project cost on this was $35,000. And the cost after all the incentives, so Brian out of pocket had to come up with about $25,400, which again was, we're able to get through EFS. Paybacks, we initially thought as payback was going to be about 17 years. From the figures that we've seen, Brian went from spending, I want to say, like $4,000 a year in fuel oil down to about $2,500 in fuel oil. So he's saving $1,500 a year, and that includes, now he's got air conditioning, whole house air conditioning. So it's really really a nice deal. And I think you might see a little more savings. I see the prices this year just kind of bumping up. I've seen natural gas, I've heard 30%. So I don't even know if fuel oil could be rough. This is just a quick little overview of what was done to the house. We took care of wSimply installs. We took care of the mechanical. The insulation was taken care of by a sister company of ours, wSimply Insulation. Brian ended up, opting for, they spray foamed the rim joists in the basement, got that all sealed up really nice. Up in the attic, we were able to do some air sealing, and they sprayed 2 inches of closed cell foam on all the ductwork. One is efficiency is definitely a key. Other big one is when you do ductwork in an attic, you want to make sure you're well insulated, well air sealed, because the last thing you want dead of summer is to have water dripping through your drywall, or in Brian's case, plaster and lath ceilings. That would be terrible. So spray foam took great care of it. Once everything was foamed in, they had it blown in with cellulose insulation to roughly, I want to say Joel told me it was an R60. So there is a ton of insulation in Brian's attic now. I've had to go up there, and it was very fun trying to get through our air handlers after the insulation was in there, but it could happen. Main background on Brian's mechanical system overall, he's got 2 4-ton hyperheat systems. In reality, it's a 3.5-ton and a 4-ton. What he's got is a 42,000 BTU P series 1-to-1, which is a light commercial unit. It's cold climate certified. And it feeds that central air handler that the slide before showed. What you get with that is you get about 48,000 BTUs down to 5 degrees. And again, you can add backup heat to it. You can see there's a large media filter on the bottom of it to cut down you'll give them better air filtration and cut down on the frequency of filter changes. And you can also add UV lights to these. You could add a steam humidifier to them if need be. Bypass humidifiers are a little tough with these because you don't get the right stack temps. In the second system to do up in the attic was a multi-zone 4-ton hyperheat outdoor unit with 2 2-ton heads that are in the attic. They're concealed ducted, and everything's done through the ceiling. And you'll see a picture of that coming up here pretty soon. Go to the next guy here. Just another picture of the insulation, as well as Jack passed out, because he spends a lot of his time. Here's a quick picture of the supply. You can see the register cut into the ceiling. What this is a nice option for some of the older houses that people that really do not like the upper walls. Ducting removes that. It goes to more of a traditional forced air system. The upper walls are typically always your easiest and your cheapest. But in certain circumstances, the ducting really works out well. In Brian's house, we were able to cover the whole upstairs on 2 separate zones. And from what we've heard, it's been absolutely fantastic. Air conditioning is great. System's been performing fantastic. There's a quick picture of the outdoor units. You can see they both look identical, although one is a multi-zone. The one on the right-hand side is your multi-zone. That's feeding the upstairs attic. The one on the left is your P-Series 1-to-1 that's feeding the air handler in the basement. Both are hanging up off the walls with just regular brackets. So I want to say on Brian's place there, we've got about 24 inches of clearance between the ground, which is everything that's wanted. And, of course, cover all the line sets running up the outside of the house here in brown line hide. Line hide's kind of a nice thing, comes brown, white, tan. Brian's house worked out nice with the brown because of the brown shutters. The line hide can also be painted. So if your house is a teal color and you want it to match and go, blend right in, the line hide can be painted. Let's go. And hey, we're on our last slide already. Just a little contact info for us. If you wanted to reach out by phone, you call the 585-698-7876. Jesse will pick up the phone. Jesse's fantastic. And by email, there's Logan is the one on top, the guy on top, and I am the one below. I will say best way to get a hold of us typically is email. I try to get back to people pretty quickly. This year has been all bets are off the table, as everybody I'm sure knows. It's been crazy busy this year, so we're really trying to do our best to be on top of it, but still delivering the systems on the dates that we promise to customers. But that all in all is our case study. I would like to introduce Brian. He is the owner of the house, owner of the new system, and I'd like to have him just talk about it, let us know his goods, his bads, his uglies.
AJ, why don't we unshare your screen so we can see Brian?
Good deal.
Just want to remind folks that we would love for you to get in touch with Simply Installs, but we would prefer you to go through HeatSmart and register with us, and we'll send the lead to Simply Installs since this is a HeatSmart program. So Brian, it's so nice to meet you. Welcome. And I'm so glad you could join us today. I would love for you to tell the folks about your experience working with Simply Installs, your experience with the heat pumps and the whole process. So take it away, Brian.
Well, thank you for having me. I bought this house because, again, I love old history. It's one of the first houses in this area in Marcellus, and I still have the horse hookup for the carriage to pull up out in front of the house. So, I mean, it's an awesome house. The thing that I hated about it most was the fact that I had hot water baseboard and that I was running on fuel. And yes, I was $3,500 to $4,000 a year in just fuel oil, as well as electric. That's on top of it. And I didn't have any air conditioning. And I have a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. I have a wife, and I wanted the house to be comfortable year round. It was just very warm in the summer. It got cool in the winter, not terribly cool in the winter, but it wasn't an even heat. And the fact that I could put 2 different zones on the second floor, one for a temperature for my kids' wing, and then one for a temperature on my wing, I can make it cooler on my wing and make it warmer on their wing, which my wife was very happy about. So it really worked out great because last year my son, we had to travel out to St. Louis. And so the initial installation actually occurred while we were out of town. And so I didn't actually have to be here, but I got daily phone calls, daily FaceTimes, just making sure that they made me aware of what was going on, where they were in the process. And then when I came home, it was done, and it was clear, and it was clean, and it was great because I literally had air conditioning as soon as I came home from St. Louis last summer. And then about a month later, they came in and did the basement because I was ready for them to come in and do the first floor. And within the design of that, I installed a wood stove in a chimney that we had in the house. And working with AJ and Logan, we designed the supply or the return to be the largest in my room that had the wood stove. So in case I had any issues, I could literally just turn the fan on the air handler, suck all that warm air out of that room, and then be able to heat the rest of the first floor, which of course warm air rises. And I can tell you that I tried it just to see how it worked, and it was awesome because I could get my whole house to 70 degrees and I didn't have anything running. And it was about 30 degrees outside, just off of my wood stove. So, but what I'll say is I got the wood stove as more of a backup, because if I don't have any electric, I don't have any heat. And so I wanted the ability to have a wood stove. And there were a couple of nights over the winter last year that I was a little concerned. Am I going to wake up to a chillier house than normal? And I had literally no issues whatsoever in waking up and having it 68 degrees in my house. It was 68 degrees all day if I wanted it to be all day. So I love the fact that I not only have heating off of electric on an air source heat pump, but I also got air conditioning in an 1850 house that had hot water baseboard. So for me, it was a no-brainer because it solved a lot of my comfort issues in this house. And now I've been able to just enjoy my house and focus on other projects within the house.
That's fantastic. Trying to find the unmute button. I love your house, Brian. It's so beautiful. I also have an 1800s, 1840s, I think, farmhouse, and it's really beautiful. But as you know, it's a lot of work to maintain these homes. A lot of BTUs to keep them warm. And so it's a really great story. Tell me about air conditioning, because it's funny, you know, I talk to people and it's like, you were interested in air conditioning. A lot of people say, oh, well, I'm not interested in air conditioning. We've never had air conditioning. We don't need no stinking air conditioning. But then you ask them a year later their favorite thing about their heat pumps, and they say, oh my gosh, the air conditioning.
I moved from a house that had central air.
Okay.
So I was already used to it, and I had upgraded all the insulation and utilities in that house as well. And then of course I went and I bought myself a really old house that was, you know, fuel oil, and there is natural gas up the road. It's 400 feet up the road. I could have easily brought it down and installed natural gas in my house, but that I don't really want that. That doesn't solve my problem of air conditioning and ductwork in this whole house. And for me, the first and second floor, I got 9-foot ceilings in this house. And so the ability to put ductwork in the attic and then a ductwork system in the basement and separate my house into 3 different zones really made it awesome.
Sometimes people want to know about, is it noisy? I have a lot of people who are sensitive to noise.
You can't hear it run. Unless you're literally out standing next to it, you do not hear it at all. Like it's a very light hum. And I don't think mine ever really even ramps full up to the highest setting, because by insulating the top and the bottom, and I've reduced the stack effect to go in the house, it really just kind of maintains a really nice level. And my highest, before when I was on fuel oil, my average electric bill was probably $300 a month. In the dead of winter last winter, my highest electric bill was $800.
Yeah. So folks should know that heat pumps are super duper efficient. On average, they're 2 or 2.5 times more efficient than like an electric baseboard heat, for example. But when it is very cold out, they are not running efficiently. So that's when you're going to see your highest bills. And that's when, you know, if you don't need backup heat to keep the house warm, but to balance your costs, for some folks, that's when they might use the backup heat rather than the heat pump, or to augment the heat pump during those coldest weeks of the year. Maybe we have an Arctic blast or a polar vortex or something like that. The heat pump is going to work for you, but you should expect a higher bill that month, and you know, you manage your heating accordingly. But every single day I talk to people who, you know, have been heating with wood for 20, 30 years, chopping wood, stacking wood, hauling wood around, are getting older, are worried about their ability to stay in their home and stay comfortable. And the heat pump to them is the perfect thing. And then the idea that maybe, hey, they could even close up the house, leave the heat pump running, go to Florida for a couple of weeks. It's just like freedom.
We do a lot of those with that same exact, I don't want to deal with the wood stove, and I want to be able to leave my house there in the winter. So we do a lot of those, and they kind of go back with the noise levels on everything. You know, when you go to your ductless jobs or even any of your inverting heat pumps nowadays, they're super duper quiet. Nothing like your old standard 13 SEER air conditioners. And then within the house, like at Brian's, I know Logan does our duct design and he geeks out on this stuff. So, you know, we really try to minimize the noise by properly sizing the ductwork to move the air we need to. So you don't get any whistling, any howling. I mean, Brian's probably never heard it even in high. If the air handler went into high, it's probably just a nice little hum and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the split system with the ducted on the ground floor and then the heads on the upstairs. I think that just is a very elegant solution and I love seeing that. So, and the other thing about the system in Brian's house is, say you did have a mechanical problem or a failure with one of your heat pumps, you wouldn't lose heat to the whole house because you have redundancy with the two separate systems. I see a lot of systems installed where everything is off of one branch box. It does make me a little nervous just to, you know, that's a single system failure. There's no redundancy there. And I like to see these kinds of split systems. I feel like it gives the customer a little bit more of an insurance policy on there.
Absolutely. It's always a recommendation of ours, whether or not you're doing a natural gas furnace or a cold climate air source heat pump, it's always a good idea to have a couple oil-filled plug-in radiant heaters just waiting in the basement. Because you never know when your furnace goes down, anything, and you're going to want that because pipes freezing are bad news. And the other one, just to go back a little bit on the billing and the money Brian's saving, we do often like to point out to people that overall, these things will save you money. But you can't look at it in a month to month, just because, like Lisa mentioned, you might get a month. I know my air source at my house, I'm used to a $220, $250 natural gas bill. And I was running my heat pump down low a couple years ago, and I was getting $500 electrical bills. So it's one of those things that if you look at it month to month, it's like it'll scare you. It might scare somebody away. Really try not to do that. Look at your heating bills in the course of 12 months on average, and then that'll tell you your real savings with your new system over your old.
Absolutely. You know, people are heating still with oil or propane. The heat pump will dramatically save them money, but that doesn't mean that you won't have a high energy bill in January. So you got to plan.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to turn the rest of this meeting over to our guests and see if they have any questions for you, AJ, or for me, or for Brian. And thank you so much again, Brian, for taking time out of your day to join us. It's really the best. Our best webinars are always when we have the customers volunteering to join us and talk about their own systems. And so I just really appreciate you being here. So if anybody has questions for any of us or a comment, now's your time. Go ahead and unmute, or if you can't unmute, or if you're at work or whatever, you want to type something into the chat, that's quite all right too. And I'll just read it out for everybody. Oh, here's somebody just joining us. They've missed the whole presentation, but maybe they just come chat. Eileen, Crystal, Gina, any questions for the group here? And welcome to Richard, who's joining. Not sure what we can do for him. Oh, okay. No questions from Gina or Crystal. Crystal is on the town board of Groton and helping us to do a community campaign for heat pumps in the town of Groton. So I'm really thrilled to have Crystal on the call. And when we were first talking about the HeatSmart program, she said, "Oh my goodness, I think this is something I need to do." So hopefully Crystal will be doing it and she can help us she'll be the guest on the next webinar. She can talk about her house conversion. Richard, welcome to our webinar. You missed the presentation, but this is the question and answer period. Did you want to say hello? Do you have any questions for the HeatSmart program or for wSimply installs?
Yeah, I apologize for being late. Something came up. I couldn't come in. How are you?
Oh, this is Rich, isn't it? Rich.
Yes. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. So, there's some additional rebates that National Grid have come out with. I don't know if that you brought that up or not on the homeowner side. But it's $1,200 for every 10,000 BTUs of heat now until the end of November. And the applications have to be submitted by December 8th. And I know that the program is really increasing in popularity quite a bit, the Clean Heat program. And I know that AJ is as busy as can be. So, right.
Thank you for that. Most of our customers are in NICEAG territory, but
Okay.
we have some extra grants available for people who are income qualified, starting I think on November 1st. So if folks are qualified, there's a chart on our website. I can link it in the chat. Then they may be able to get very significant extra grants. And then I don't have the details yet, but there is going to be a really big grant program coming from NYSERDA for low-income households for heat pumps. So stay tuned for that. Sign up for the HeatSmart newsletter. If you're outside of Tompkins or Chemung counties, you can go to getheatsmart.org to find the HeatSmart program that serves your area.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're really trying to figure out how to make this energy transition available to all households at every income level. The programs aren't perfect. Not everybody fits into the right box at the right time, but we try to do our best to make things available as they come up and make sure that we connect as many people as possible with the opportunities that arise. So
Mhm.
There really are a lot of programs out there. They're giving a lot of money away towards these things. I mean, you have to be some income eligible, some not. But it's always worth a try, even if you don't think you're income eligible. It's worth an application, right? Because it's nobody, you put it in and NYSERDA says yes or no. So it's always worth a few minutes. We've had people that didn't think they were qualified. We just did a job in up Fulton way, and they didn't think they were income qualified. We ended up getting them through through AHP for the insulation, and then through the adder for the heat pump. We saved them $13,000.
Oh.
It was really it was a nice deal.
for the folks at home is assisted home performance. That's one of the grant programs that's available. And remember, I mentioned that systems benefit charge, because you might be thinking, is this coming out of our taxes? No, this is coming out of your systems benefit charge you pay on your utility bill every month. Everybody pays. And so why not get that money back in your pocket? You've been paying into it. You can get an energy audit. You can get a free estimate for heat pumps and insulation from wSimply Installs or any of our partners. So please get in touch with HeatSmart, enroll to get directly in touch with the installers, and find out what there is available to you. Because people say to me, well, this is kind of complicated, and I agree with you, but that's why we have a HeatSmart program, to try to help make it simpler. So if it was super simple, what I dream of is that someday it'll be so simple we won't need HeatSmart. We won't need to be talking about heat pumps. Everybody will know what one is. Everyone will know how to install them. Everyone will know how to maintain them, and the price will come down. The market will bring the prices down for everybody, but we're not there yet. So we're still fiddling around and trying to make this transition, which is not unusual. Any new technology or any technological revolution does take time. So we're in the midst of that right now here in New York.
The New York Clean Heat money it's a one that too, I don't know if we've mentioned it all, but the New York Clean Heat money is the one comes through the utility program. It is not income eligible. Everybody can make $1 million a year and get the funds for that. I want to say for Brian's project here, we were up over $9,000 through that program. So it was a good one. What they do is they base it on, it's $1,000 per 10,000 BTUs at 5 degrees, according to the NEAT guidelines. So depending on the outdoor unit, you could be anywhere from say $2,500 up over $10,000 if you have a big house. Brian's got a big house, as Lisa mentioned. Big houses need some heat, so we've got what 98,000 BTUs on tap at his house. So he's got plenty of heat if he needs it.
That's really amazing. And before HeatSmart and other advocates put pressure on New York State, we didn't have those rebates. When the HeatSmart Tompkins program started, there were no rebates for air source heat pumps whatsoever. And now there are. And now there's a lot of national pressure for this as well. So we're going to start to see, right now there's just a $300 tax credit for a heat pump. They just treated it like any other appliance. But we expect to see that change in the future, where there will be more tax incentives at the federal level for heat pumps. And we've seen better and better offerings for New York State every year, more people eligible through more different programs for heat pumps. I just heard this morning that the National Weatherization Assistance Program, WAP, is actually going to be having funds for building electrification and heat pumps. So the word is getting out there. It's happening now. And we're really excited about it. We're excited to have been part of this transition. All right, I'm going to make a last call for any questions. Oh, welcome, Gina. I didn't recognize your name. And if there are none, I'm gonna just thank everybody for coming, and a special thanks to AJ and to Brian for talking about that awesome project. It's just exciting to see, and it's the real house, the real heat pumps, the real money savings, from a real case study. So we will have this recording archived on our YouTube channel, eventually uploaded to our website. And I just want to leave you all with one last thought, which is when people come to the HeatSmart program, we have more and more coming. We always ask them how they heard about HeatSmart, and always the number one answer is friends, word of mouth. So thank you so much for helping HeatSmart by spreading the word. If you enjoyed this webinar, share it. It's on our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page, share it out and say, hey, I attended this webinar today. You might want to check this out. That's how people find out about our program. They hear it from a friend, a neighbor, a sister, an aunt, a mother. And that's really the best way to spread the word. So thanks so much for coming. Thanks everybody, and have a lovely Wednesday.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.